Oakland, California, a city shaped by pressure. From the bay, from industry, from movement forced inward. Oakland grew alongside the water. Shipyards, rail lines, factories. Neighborhoods built close to labor and transit. People came to work, to organize, to endure. The city was built to carry weight, but much of that weight was never released. Tonight we explore locations where history did not progress cleanly, where purpose changed but presence remained, where something continues to linger by the bay. These are 8 haunted locations of Oakland. Constructed as a private estate on elevated ground, the Dunsmuir House was designed for separation. Distance from industry, distance from noise, distance from the city below. Built by a railroad magnate, the house was funded by expansion, relying on dangerous labor, long hours, and frequent injury. Railroads brought wealth quickly. They also brought death. Accidents were common. Records were brief. Workers were replaced. The house stood apart from that reality, physically elevated, yet directly sustained by it. Inside, the household followed rigid structure. Staff moved quietly through corridors. Boundaries were enforced. Privacy belonged upward. Service moved downward. Illness and death occurred within the home. Not publicly, not ceremonially, but contained within bedrooms and upper floors. Accounts describe multiple deaths associated with the household, including children. Loss was absorbed privately. Grief was managed, then hidden. The city continued below. Over time, ownership changed. The estate became public, restored, maintained. Its function shifted, but its internal divisions did not. Visitors and staff have reported footsteps on upper floors when no one is present. Voices heard in closed rooms, and the sensation of being observed from stair landings and long hallways. Some describe a heaviness in certain rooms. Not fear, pressure. Cold air has been felt near specific doorways, isolated and unmoving, unaffected by surrounding conditions. The Dunsmuir House was built to benefit from trauma without witnessing it directly. Some believe that separation never fully held, that what lingers here is not a single presence, but unresolved imbalance. Lives elevated, lives spent, still held within the structure that profited from both. The Chapel of the Chimes was designed as a single facility. Cemetery, crematorium, columbarium. Built to manage death efficiently. At the time of its construction, Oakland was growing rapidly. Industry expanded. Population increased. Loss followed closely behind. Death passed through regularly. Ceremonies overlapped. Grief was scheduled, often without time to settle before the next arrival. The structure expanded over time. New wings were added, levels stacked inward, courtyards enclosed. Navigation became indirect. Rooms led unexpectedly into others. Paths doubled back. Some areas were designed to hold remains permanently, others only briefly. Cremation reduced space, but not volume. Ashes accumulated. Names multiplied. Endings compressed. Visitors have reported voices echoing through interior courtyards when no services are scheduled. Some describe figures seen briefly at the ends of corridors, visible only long enough to register presence before dissolving into shadow. Cold air has been felt in the interior spaces, far from exterior walls. Localized and persistent, unrelated to temperature control. The chapel was designed to process endings without pause. Some believe that what lingers here does not belong to any one individual, but to the space itself. That the accumulation of unresolved grief never dispersed. It moves through the building the way loss once did, continuously, quietly, without destination. Mountain View Cemetery was built to organize permanence, to impose order, to make death legible. Rolling hills, curving roads, family plots arranged deliberately across elevation and distance. The garden landscape was intended to feel open, calm, managed. But the cemetery was never isolated. As Oakland grew below, the dead accumulated above. Generations layered into the hillside. Names repeated. Families expanded outward, then stopped. Mausoleums were constructed to enclose lineage. Stone corridors, locked doors, interior spaces built to remain closed indefinitely. Unlike traditional graves, these structures created rooms, spaces designed to hold presence without activity. Visitors have reported figures seen near mausoleum entrances, often at a distance. Stationary, indistinct, gone when approached. Some describe the sensation of being observed while walking between crypts, particularly along sloped paths where sight lines shift suddenly and sound carries unevenly. Voices have been reported near older family plots, quiet and unresolved, present only long enough to register.
Hey,
Cold air has been felt inside mausoleums and near sealed doors. Localized and unmoving, unaffected by weather or time of day. Mountain View Cemetery was designed to give form to permanence. Some believe that form held too much, that what lingers here is not tied to any single grave, but to accumulation itself. Generations placed carefully, endings arranged to appear complete, still present where nothing was meant to move again. Moored in the Oakland estuary, the USS Potomac served as a presidential yacht. A controlled environment. Secure. Mobile. The vessel functioned as transportation and insulated workspace. Meetings occurred aboard. Sensitive conversations were held away from public record. Decisions made on the ship carried consequence far beyond the waterline. During World War II, the Potomac operated under heightened vigilance. Routes were monitored. Movements were deliberate. Security protocols were constant. Crew members lived aboard for extended periods. Routine followed command structure. Observation was continuous. Privacy was limited. Alertness was expected. Now preserved and docked, the ship no longer travels. Its purpose has ended. Its posture has not. Visitors and crew have reported the sound of footsteps on deck after hours. Doors opening without cause, and voices heard in interior spaces when no tours are present. Some describe the sensation of being observed from behind in narrow passageways, particularly near crew quarters and command areas. Others report a heightened awareness in enclosed rooms, as if someone remains on watch. Cold air has been felt below deck, localized and unmoving, independent of airflow or temperature. The Potomac was built to remain alert while in motion. Some believe that state never disengaged, that what lingers aboard is not memory, but vigilance held too long. A watch maintained without destination, still present on a vessel, no longer required to move. Built during the early sound era of cinema, the Paramount Theatre was designed for immersion. Light, sound, spectacle. Crowds gathered nightly. Applause filled the space. Emotion was amplified and released on cue. The building functioned as a controlled environment. Attention was directed forward. Silence was temporary. Behind the scenes, work was constant. Stagehands moved through narrow corridors. Performers rehearsed under pressure, with little margin for error. Injuries occurred quietly. Exhaustion was routine. Recovery was brief. The theater closed in the 1970s, then reopened after restoration. Its purpose resumed, but its internal rhythms remained. Some report applause emerging briefly from the auditorium. Scattered, incomplete, gone almost immediately. Staff have reported voices heard backstage after performances end. Footsteps crossing the stage when the house is dark, and the sensation of presence from the upper balconies. The Paramount was built to absorb emotion temporarily, to hold attention, then release it. Some believe that release never fully occurred, that what lingers here is not performance, but pressure maintained without release, suspended in a space designed to reset. Set in the Oakland hills, Joaquin Miller Park occupies land used long before formal designation. Footpaths existed here before signage. Travel routes cut through uneven terrain between settlements and work sites. The area was never fully controlled. Visibility shifted quickly. Sound traveled unpredictably. Once off the main path, distance became difficult to judge. Before the park's establishment, the land saw temporary dwellings, informal travel, and unrecorded movement. Paths formed where they were needed, not where they were planned. People passed through without names and without expectation of return. Not every passage was completed. Accidents occurred here over time. Falls, exposure, illness. Deaths not always witnessed and not always recovered quickly. Time passed, but some things remained. Visitors have reported figures seen along trails at dusk, often at a distance, visible just long enough to register human shape, before vanishing behind trees. Voices have been heard calling from wooded areas without clear direction. Footsteps reported matching pace, then stopping abruptly when the walker stops. Some describe the sensation of being followed briefly, then left alone once reaching open ground. Cold air has been felt in shaded areas, localized and sudden, unrelated to elevation, wind, or time of day. The park was designed to preserve open land. Some believe it also preserved moments when movement failed, that what lingers here does not occupy structures but paths, routes taken under strain, journeys interrupted, still present along trails where no one was meant to remain. Mills College was established to endure. Founded in the mid-19th century, the campus was built slowly. Buildings added over decades. Paths worn in by repetition. Daily life structured around routine, residence, and return. Generations passed through the grounds. Students arrived, lived on site, followed fixed schedules, then left. The campus functioned as a contained environment. Dormitories, classrooms, and performance spaces held people for long periods of time. Life occurred within walking distance. Movement followed predictable patterns. That continuity included its dead. In a remote corner of the grounds lies a small gravesite known as Sunnyside Cemetery, where founders Susan and Cyrus Mills are buried. The site is modest, partially hidden, but long acknowledged as part of campus life. One persistent account claims that when a nearby highway was planned in the 1960s, the presence of the graves prevented the campus from being divided. Susan Mills died in 1912. Before her burial, she lay in state inside Lisser Hall, the campus theater. Students have claimed for decades that she never fully left that space. Figures matching her era have been reported inside the building after hours. Footsteps pacing the stage when the hall is empty. Movement without audience or purpose. Other locations across campus are mentioned repeatedly. Residence halls near Prospect Hill. Older academic buildings. Interior corridors designed for constant use. Students describe a woman in Victorian-era clothing, seen briefly on stairways or near entrances. Never approaching, never acknowledged. Others report the sound of a piano playing when no one is scheduled to practice. One overnight staff member claimed to have seen a horse and carriage, moving along a service road, visible only briefly before disappearing. At Orchard Meadow Hall, a woman in period clothing has been reported standing on the steps, appearing without sound, then gone. These accounts are not isolated. They circulate quietly, passed between students, resident advisors, and staff. Not as warnings, not as spectacle, as features of the place. Mills College was built to carry continuity forward. Some believe the continuity held too much. That what lingers here is not tied to a single building or name, but to generations who structured their lives within its grounds. Arrivals repeated, departures expected. Some, according to its legends, simply never completed the passage. Still present in halls designed for return, not release. Surrounded by development, Lake Merritt sits at the center of Oakland. Seen from above, it feels contained rather than open. Before preservation, the lake functioned as infrastructure, transportation, waste disposal. In planning documents, it was treated as an edge, not a destination. In practice, people still entered the water, to swim, to cool off, to gather along its shoreline. Industrial runoff entered the lake. Debris accumulated. Visibility was limited. Accidents occurred regularly. Boats capsized. People fell in. Drownings were reported inconsistently. Some deaths went unrecorded. Others were documented briefly before the city moved on. As Oakland expanded, the lake's role shifted. It was preserved, beautified, reframed as a civic centerpiece. Paths were built, lighting installed. The surface was stabilized, but the water remained. Visitors have reported figures seen near the shoreline at night, often reflected first before appearing directly. Voices have been heard carrying across the water when no one else is nearby. Sounds travel farther than expected. Words remain indistinct. Some describe the sensation of being watched from the water itself, particularly during still moments. Others report cold air rising suddenly near the shoreline, localized and unmoving, independent of weather conditions. Lake Merritt was meant to become a focal point. Some believe it also became a repository, a place where movement ended without ceremony, holding what was discarded, what was lost, and what was never fully acknowledged. Still present at the center of the city. Oakland is a city that learned to carry weight. Industry, movement, pressure held close to the bay. Some places absorbed more than they were meant to hold. Lives passed through. Work ended. Structures remained. What lingers here does not need recognition. It stays near where things accumulated. Near the water, near the ground, unmoved. What was left behind remains by the bay. Have you experienced anything paranormal in Oakland? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more haunted content. And until next time, have a good night.